Hello folks, and welcome to my first mix feedback video. Now, it's kind of interesting. With the mix contest, I guess I attracted a little bit of attention to my channel, and with that I also attracted one or the other troll. Some of them don't seem to appreciate how I start my videos with a sigh and drinking a sip of coffee. And I'm like, what the... What do you have against coffee? What did the coffee ever do to you? Leave the coffee alone! And I can say all I want. Hey, when I'm tired and I notice I have more work to do, way more work to do than I expected, then who's not going to sigh? I mean, come on, give me a break. And I can assure you, I'm so going to mess with these trolls. I'm going to do everything they hate about me. Okay, let's take a look in here what I got in the inbox. I haven't looked yet. Let's see, how many do we have? Ooh, there's... Go away. Woo! 18 already. Cool. This is actually the ideal amount. I was afraid there were going to be too many. Like, I was thinking perhaps 50 would be quite a lot. And 10 would be, yeah, pretty good. But 18 is like a really nice solid turnout. Okay, so let's go right ahead. Wait, what's this? Google Community? No, don't need this one. Blah, blah, blah. So, first one for today is by George Iliadis. First of all, this song feels very familiar. Like it was from some other mix competition. I want to say I remember this from another mix competition from that was done on the Andy Sneap forum, but I can't put my finger on it. It definitely feels very familiar. Okay, so far overall, I think this is a pretty good mix. Just two things that I noticed at this point I would personally work on a little bit is first the bass guitar. I can barely make it out. Like it could use a bit more tone in the mid-range, and also the low end of the bass could be a bit stronger to really fill up some of the girth of the mix. But don't overdo it, because this is a heavier style of music that at times goes a little bit quicker and is a bit faster paced and whatnot. So you also don't want the low end of the mix to be overbearing. So in that way, you do have very nice control in this mix. That is well done. I think you could just put in a little bit more of the low end on the bass to give it that extra bit of ballsiness. But again, this is one of those things you really have to find your balance. Like how much is good to really give it that strength, but how much is already too much that it's just overbearing. So, and the singing, I feel could use, it sits well in the mix, but it could use a bit more girthy strength in the lower range. At times it feels a little bit thin. But let me listen on before I give you a point on that. And the guitar tones, overall, they also sound really good. But I noticed that constant sound in that upper range. I want to say in that 2 to 4K range. That's something you could... okay, that's a tricky thing. It depends quite a bit on what amp simulation you use. If you use a cheaper amp sim, like you said here, you use TSE-X50. If it's the free version, then yeah, it makes sense that it sounds like that. Usually the older generation of amp modeling, and especially the free ones, they have exactly that problem in that upper mid-range, that you have this constant kind of white noise sound going on. So you could either spend a little bit of money on a good amp simulator. Mercurial just brought out their new amp simulator, the SS11X, which sounds really good. So that is highly recommended. And it's just 40 bucks. I mean, come on, you can't go wrong with that. Or, you know, if you want to have a huge palette of stuff available, I would recommend TH3. It sounds amazing and has super low CPU usage, so you could use dozens of instances in one mix without getting into any trouble. It's just something I would recommend to let your mind revolve around. Perhaps it would make sense for you to spend a little bit of money on something that is a bit better quality. Otherwise, you could get control over that constant noise with a bit of post EQ. So you really need to find the spots that are most offensive and duck them down a little bit with subtractive EQ. But with the way this noise sounds to me, I would say be careful not to cut out too much. You will probably always have a little bit of this noise going on, and when you start over cutting, which means you cut too much at too many places, then you easily kill the tone altogether. So it's again this kind of balancing, this juggling around, okay, what amp simulator, what cabin pulse, how do I dial in the tone, and how do I post EQ this? It's a tricky thing. I am very well aware of that, but just take the time to experiment, and you really need to be patient with this kind of stuff, you know? Dialing in tones and mixing in general, it's like learning an instrument. It takes a lot of time to really get the hang of it, to really develop the ear and the intuition for it, and yeah, just stick to it. But overall, this is a very solid mix nonetheless. Yeah, here in the vocals you notice this upper range, I want to say around 2 to 3K, perhaps around 3K. It is definitely. You notice there's quite a bit of dynamics going on. So I would recommend a dynamic EQ here. Again, TDR Nova is a free dynamic, or has a free version, and it's great. I'm not endorsed by that or anything, okay? It's just my personal recommendation. When it's free, then you have nothing to lose, so try it out. And perhaps try to tame that range a little bit. And then try to give it a bit more girth back, around, I want to say 200 Hertz. On that one scream, I would personally put like a really big stereo creating effect. You could do that with a ping pong delay and put the feedback all the way down, so you just have one hit left, one hit right after the initial signal, and put it to like, I don't know, 10 milliseconds, 15 milliseconds. Then you'll notice you get a really big stereo width in there, and that will give that one scream that much more power, and like a wall of scream at that one instant. I think that will be interesting effect. It's just a stylistic thing, just an idea you could play around with. Yeah, here, when you just hear the guitar, I do notice there is a little bit of resonances going on in that 2 to 3K range. You may want to check that out. Yeah, overall this is a pretty good mix, I'd say. Also the thing with the bass guitar, well, you could try it out, but I wouldn't say that it's absolutely necessary. Also, if you do give the bass guitar in the low end a bit more strength, watch out that it doesn't start to mask the low end thumb of the kick. But otherwise, these are really the only few pointers I have. Overall, this is a great mix. And I'm noticing I'm spending a lot of time on just one mix. So let's see if I can make it a little bit of a quicker pace without losing out any details. Next one is by Benjamin Müller. The first two mixes of this whole series, and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to tell you? This sounds great. Perhaps the bass guitar could use also a bit more strength in the low end. Then again, make sure it doesn't mask the low end thumb of the kick. Otherwise, this sounds super solid. Even the thing with the low end, take it with a bit of a grain of salt. Perhaps it's just my personal preference to have a really strong and meaty low end. I can't say anything more. This is really a really good mix. job well done. I already know if I ever get the chance to make another mix competition, I'm gonna make it a complete songwriting and mix competition. So everybody can release or can enter their own songs instead of mixing one of my songs. Then I can be absolutely sure I'm not doing anything biased. And this is actually really, really fun for me. This is really cool. Thanks for everybody for sending me mixes. This is very, very nice change of pace. It's also giving me a chance to really reset my ear, so I am not always in my own shell with my own music and only the bands that I enjoy, but this is giving me some new perspective. So again, thank you, people. Oh, okay, this is again a mix from my song Cage. Excuse me. This one is by Dreamy Studio. Okay, he just kept it instrumental. That's completely fine. We're not in the contest here. You can send me whatever you like. Overall, this is very solid. I just feel that the rhythm guitars could perhaps benefit from a bit more clarity. Nah, that's... perhaps clarity isn't quite the right word. I just noticed they sound quite distorted and fuzzy. It's a good tone in general, but it doesn't quite have the presence in the mix that they could use. Here, for example, you hear the rhythm guitars, but they don't really jump in your ear. They're not very present. It feels more like the drums take up more presence than the guitars. It's a difficult balance thing again. It's just some fine tweaks, I think. But definitely the guitars are masked a little bit. Perhaps by the room mics of the drums. Kind of difficult to say what exactly could help you in this situation, because it sounds very good. There's no question about that. It's just the guitars could be a bit more present, a touch more upfront. Perhaps just a very gradual boost with a very wide bell, around 3K, just to make them a bit edgier and make them sit a little bit more upfront. Right now they are a touch behind. The solo could come up in volume if you do busy. You really want the solo to take up a lot of presence without it being unnecessarily loud, of course. You do notice here the drums still feel very much in front of the solo. So you kind of want to balance that out a little bit. Just boost the solo in volume like 2 or 3 dB and I think you should be good. Next one is by... oh my goodness. Let me just take the band name. We Forlorn Hope. Regicide is the song. I'm sorry, but your name is just... ugh. You know what? Let me give it a try. Przemek. Oh. Swiecicki. Swiecicki? Yeah. Oh man, this is gonna be so much fun with the names again. Okay, vocals could come up in volume a little bit. They are a little bit too behind the guitars. Or perhaps the guitars could come down a little bit. Wait. No, I think it's just the vocals. They could come up a little bit to make them stand a bit more up front. And the low end could use a bit of work because it's kind of muddy at times. Especially when you have this kind of hard and at times very fast-paced stuff. You need to make sure that the low end is clean because it easily gets muddy. Wait, let me give it a closer listen again. Yeah, the guitars could use a bit more of a low-end filter. They muddy things up down there a little bit too much. And let me check the kick drum again. Yeah, at this point I want to say it's really just the rhythm guitars that are too strong in the low end range. So just a little bit of filter should clean it up. Once you do that, I'm not sure how it's gonna stand with the low end of the mix. Perhaps then you'll need to work a little bit on the low end of the bass, that it takes up that space again. Perhaps also the low end thumb of the kick drum will already come through better. It could be. I'm not entirely sure. That's really just the first step you should do. Filter the guitars a little bit more, that you clear up the low end some more. Then from there, you need to see what you need to do. And the kick drum could use a more high-end click. Because you have quite the... I want to say scratchier guitar style. These are good sounding guitars, don't get me wrong. It's just the style of the tone is that a bit more chorus style. And the kick at times gets lost behind the guitars, so a bit more high-end click will help it to cut through a bit more consistently. here it cuts through nicely, at other times, not so much. Okay, in parts like these, play with the velocities of your drums and also with the timing. This sounds way too robotic. With blast beats, you want to lower the velocity of the snare drum because this is not how real drums sound. This is not how a real drummer plays. And it also sounds like it's perfectly on grid. Just play with some humanizing. I think every DAW nowadays has some humanizing features in their MIDI editor. So that helps that the timing is not 100% perfect, because that's also not how a human plays drums. It's always a tiny bit off grid, and that actually helps to give the drums even more power and more life. And also, again, play with the velocity, so it's not constantly all the way up. You want to have a bit of dynamic that it feels natural and doesn't get overbearing. Here you notice the kick drum being completely up in velocity all the time and perfectly on grid. That just sounds like a machine gun. It's not natural. It's just too obvious that this is not a real drummer. I think you can forget what I said about the click of the kick. Nah, actually the kick of the kick is good. It was just this one part here where I didn't hear the kick at all. I get the impression at this part the kick and the snare are going simultaneously. They're synced up. Again, humanizing will help to make it clear there is a kick also beneath that snare drum. Yeah, the reason you don't really hear the kick at this point so well is because that low end thump is a little bit masked too much. Again, rhythm guitars need to be filtered a little bit more. Perhaps then the low end thump comes a bit through better, and that will also sound a little bit more distinctive. So yeah, that's actually the only pointers I have for you right now. Just volume, raise it up a little bit, guitars, a bit more filtering, and humanizing the drums. Otherwise, I'd say this is also pretty solid. Okay, did 4 mixes so far, and I already recorded half an hour of material. So, you know what, for today, let me just do one more, then I have a solid 5 mixes for this first video. For the future, I think I'm gonna have to watch out for my pacing again. Next one is by Ferro.
Like Müller, searing off everything.
Okay, overall, it's also a pretty solid mix. Just a few minor tweaks I would personally say that could help this even more. First of all, here also drums need more humanizing. It's too perfect on grid and the velocities are too monotonous. So just trust me, put in the extra work. Just after you're done with everything, with recording a song and mixing it, just take 1 hour. It usually takes me, I mean, in my experience, it takes me like 1 hour to go through the MIDI and play around with the velocities, and usually it's just a button to humanize the timing. But trust me, that 1 hour of time is worth it. It will feel so much more alive, so much more real. And it gives your music that extra bit of something that most other people don't give their music. So it will help you also to kind of stand out. Second thing, I think the drums as a whole could come up just a little bit, or alternatively turn everything else down, perhaps just a little bit, guitars and vocals mainly, perhaps just a dB, that would be it. And the guitars, I feel they sound good, but I think they could use a little bit less, around 2K, 2 to 3K. And then on the other hand, a little bit more top range. So you want to give it a little slight dip in that area, and then a very broad, like top shelf, just to give it a bit more brightness. I think that would make it fit to the rest of the mix a little bit more. But when you do these EQ moves on the guitars, watch out that they don't start to mask the vocals. I feel if you would do these EQ moves, you may also want to lower the volume of the guitar, perhaps just a dB, just to make sure the vocals stay in front. The solo could come up a little bit in volume. It's you wanna make sure people don't need to concentrate to really make out the solo. You just want it to be right there, up front, in your ear. Of course, make sure it's not too loud, that it's completely disconnected from the mix. Again, it's this balanced thing, making it up front without standing completely on top. Yeah, here too. Overall, very good mix, I'd say. It's just a couple of little tweaks to give it that extra last push and touch, and mwah. Okay, let's keep it at that for this first video. I hope I could help everybody out. Feel free to send me your mixes then. Again, once you made your fine tweaks, don't expect me to remember your mix though. I mean, I have a little bit of participation in here. Still 12 mixes in the inbox, and I easily forget the stuff again when I'm going through this. Bam, 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 next one, next one, next one. So, again, I'm just human too. I'll try my best to remember your mixes. If you happen to mix or just send your mix again. But again, please have mercy on me. I'm just human too. And a very, very tired human most of the time. On top of that, yeah, I'd say this is a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing this. Just seeing what other people come up with, and then also I can learn something from this too. So thanks everybody for your participation. Go on, send me your mixes to johnnymixcrit@gmail.com. If you like, you can also tell me if there's some specific thing you have a problem with or something specific you want to achieve. I'll see how I can help you, if at all. If you want to have an EDM vocal mix, don't ask me. That's not my realm of expertise. Okay, thanks for watching. I shall see you next time.